Have the Boston Red Sox actually shown that they're better off without Rafael Devers?
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I'm here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed. And the best part, it's completely free. So make sure that you're here to tune in because Locked On is your team every single day. This episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. Enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for two to any golf tournament in the USA. Visit 5-e-win.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament. Ends October 31st, 2025. Sound cool? You'll hear all about it later. But first, we got to talk some Red Sox because it's been a pretty smooth ride for the Red Sox ever since they traded Rafael Devers. Now, obviously, not everything has been perfect. They're coming off of a pretty frustrating road trip in San Diego and Houston. So things haven't been perfect in Red Sox land, but they have certainly been getting by. And beyond that, putting themselves in playoff contention without Rafael Devers. It's been 2 months since the big trade happened, so I'm going to be looking back at that trade and now where the Red Sox are at 2 months later, as well as talking about Ceddanne Rafaela and his recent position change, what it means for his future and the Red Sox future, as well as Kristian Campbell. Could we see him play first base for the Boston Red Sox soon? That's all being discussed on today's show, but back in June, when the Red Sox announced that Rafael Devers was being traded, I first got the news from Jeff Passan, and then the Red Sox made it official. I said, what? What exactly are the Red Sox doing? They are not out of it right now. Are they trying to show that they're a team that's going to sell? Are they trying to make a statement that they don't feel like they can contend this year? What exactly is going on? And there were a lot of thoughts going through people's heads of, what are the Red Sox doing? Is this indicative of how the trade deadline is going to go? So nobody really knew the reasoning behind it at first. More and more came out, and Craig Breslow and Sam Kennedy did a press conference where they talked about why they moved Rafael Devers to the San Francisco Giants. And ultimately, they were saying they wanted to build a culture that everybody could buy into, that could be a healthy culture for the entire team. And for sure, Rafael Devers was the Red Sox best hitter at the time, and they were sacrificing huge offensive productivity by trading him. But ultimately, what it came down to for the Red Sox was, we feel like we'll be a better team in the long run. We know we're going to take immediate heat for trading him because he's a fan favorite. He's the face of the franchise. We know how bad of a look that is. But ultimately, we're paying him a lot of money just to DH, and ultimately it makes sense to trade him so that we can establish a true healthy culture for the young players to be surrounded by and allow more roster flexibility. So the Red Sox made the decision that they did. They traded him to San Francisco. They got 3 players back in return. And where exactly have the Red Sox been since the Rafael Devers trade? So obviously, it was one of, if not probably the most shocking baseball trade in recent memory, especially this season, no doubt about it. And it seemingly was out of the blue because the Red Sox had just come off of sweeping the Yankees. They were playing good baseball. It was mid-June, well before the trade deadline. And everybody said, what? But it was an unprecedented move, despite the fact that the Red Sox had signed Alex Bregman to take over at third base, and there was already tension between the Red Sox and the organization, which we did know because he said he didn't want to move off of third base. He's a third baseman. And then when he finally agreed to DH because they said they were going to have Alex Bregman play third, then it came down to them asking him to move over to first base because Tristan Casas was hurt. And once again, Devers said no. So there was already tension there. And everything kind of built into eventually the Red Sox saying, okay, we should trade him. We don't want to set a precedent that it's okay to say no when we ask you to do something. We're paying you a bunch of money. You need to do what's best for the team. Ultimately, that was their thought process. He got moved. And what's been happening since then for the Boston Red Sox, despite the fact that he was their best hitter, they have actually responded well. Since the trade, they are 29-20 and now sit in the second wild card spot. Offensively, they have fared more than okay after moving him, as they have the highest scoring offense in the American League ever since this trade took place. And it's true, they also have the most 10-run games in baseball, meaning they've scored 10 runs or more in more games than any other team has. So they are still an offensive powerhouse even without him. And the interesting part about all of this is that the players that the Red Sox acquired have had practically no impact on the major league team. Jordan Hicks has posted a 6.23 ERA over 13 innings out of the bullpen. His command has been very off, and he just hasn't given the Red Sox what they've exactly been hoping to get from him. Kyle Harrison and Jose Bello are still in the Red Sox minor league system right now. Kyle Harrison is pitching increasingly better for the Woo Sox. He's made 9 starts for them. And in those 9 starts, he's been able to improve on his arsenal a little bit, particularly with the off-speed pitches, because he came into the Red Sox system with a very strong fastball, but was looking for pitches that could complement that. And now he's been able to grow that arsenal a little bit. He still has some problems with command. He did walk 4 guys in his last outing for Worcester. So that's something to keep in mind as well. So he's a guy who could very well see time on the Red Sox major league roster at some point, whether that's this season, maybe not, but at a minimum, he'll probably be up to start the season next year if he doesn't get a chance to play for the Red Sox at some point later on in this season for a playoff push. So they could see the results of him down the road, but they're definitely taking their time with him because he was the main piece they were interested in, the main part of the return for Devers. So they don't want him to come up prematurely and then end up it being too soon and it destroying his confidence and him not being ready for it. So I think they're doing the right thing with him by allowing him to continue to develop in AAA first. Jose Bello is somebody who is in the lower end of the Red Sox minor league system, probably won't be in the conversation for being on the major league team for a while. So that's a player that won't right now make an impact. And then they also technically got James Tibbs III, but he ended up being traded in a deal that landed Dustin May from the Dodgers at the trade deadline. So technically, you could say, was part of the return, but indirectly, Dustin May was more the return because they flipped him for May, even though May didn't come from the San Francisco Giants. So ultimately, they ended up getting Tibbs from San Francisco in the trade, but they were able to flip him for a pitcher who they really hope will contribute out of the rotation for the rest of the season. At least that's what they're hoping. So even though the Red Sox haven't gotten any value at the big league level really from these guys, this trade could end up paying dividends down the stretch because of the fact that Kyle Harrison is knocking on the door of Major League Baseball, and Dustin May pitched really well over his first generally 2 starts for the Red Sox. His first one was a little wishy-washy, should have pitched a lot deeper into the game and didn't have his best stuff, but his second start was dominant, and I mean super dominant, lights out, to the point where it kind of balanced out the first one, and it makes it so that you could look at those 2 outings and say generally he's pitched pretty well for the Red Sox so far. So he could be a critical piece in improving the Red Sox rotation down the stretch as long as he continues to pitch well. So that's why we're really looking at it as he was more the return than James Tibbs in that trade for Devers. So where the Red Sox are at now, obviously we'll never know for sure if they would still be performing at the level they are performing at if they still had Devers, because nobody can predict the future. But what I will say is there would not have been nearly as much of an opportunity for the young players to continue to play every day. Roman Anthony, for example, is a great example of a player who is somebody who's coming off of being the number 1 prospect in the sport, gets called up to the Red Sox due to an injury, and had Devers still been on the roster, then there wouldn't have been an opportunity for Roman to be in the lineup every day, and it would have been really difficult for his development at the major league level. Because if you think about it, and you still had Devers taking up the DH role, then you have to bring back Yoshida when he comes back from injury. Then where does he play? He's not going to play DH over Devers, so then you have to stick him somehow in that outfield rotation. So then you have an outfield that consists of Yoshida, Duran, Abreu, Rafaela, and Roman Anthony. Oh, and by the way, Rob Refsnyder needs to be a part of that too, especially when there's a lefty on the mound and they need to try to find a way to work him in. So you think about where that all comes down to, and it's, okay, then we have to trade somebody at the deadline because there just isn't enough room for all these guys. Then you risk losing a guy who's provided a lot of value, like, for example, Wilyer Abreu, who's provided an overly insane amount of value for the Red Sox, both offensively and defensively. Jarren Duran, who obviously has had his moments of struggle this season, but he, in general, provides value because of his versatility. So you have to trade one of them. Then you're risking throwing off that culture because the outfielders have great chemistry together if you want to continue to have Roman be a part of the everyday picture. So then you're looking at potentially risking the team not being as good, because then you have to have Yoshida play in the field more, and he is really weak defensively because the Red Sox aren't going to pay him as much as they're paying him to have him not play. So it would have created a big sense of confusion and some roster turnover that people may not have wanted to have happen. And right now, the players are always talking about how great the vibes are in the clubhouse. They said they love being around each other and they just want to win. They're always laughing in the clubhouse. A lot of times they'll stay after games just to hang out with each other, and they all have smiles on their faces in the dugout. And I'm not saying that Devers necessarily ruined the culture that the team had going, but obviously there's something special going right now when it comes to the chemistry of this Red Sox team, and that's something they've been able to ride when it comes to winning baseball games. And physically, with their offensive numbers, could they be better with Devers? Absolutely, 100%, no doubt about it. But he has been struggling with San Francisco, and the Giants also have been struggling since the trade. Since June 15th, San Francisco is 18-31 and currently riding a 5-game losing streak after being swept by the Padres. They sit 5.5 games back of the last wild card spot, and the reality is that the Giants essentially are dead in the water. And Devers also has been minimal at best for them too, with a 755 OPS and 8 home runs. So he has been playing first base for them, but the Giants really aren't better off with him. So what does this say about the Red Sox? Perhaps Craig Breslow and company were onto something when they traded him, because now there's more roster flexibility to be able to play a lot of the young players. And down the road, hopefully they'll see a really good return from this trade between Dustin May and Kyle Harrison. So only time will tell with that. But coming up, a player, speaking of roster flexibility, who's moved around positions, is Ceddanne Rafaela. What's going to happen when he moves back to center field? So it's time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion, which brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. My husband is a big golfer, always goes out and plays, and he has played in the 95-degree heat before, and it gets insanely uncomfortable. But these 5-Hour energy drinks have saved his life on the golf course. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that is the number 5hourenergy.com, you can use my promo code LOCKEDONGOLF to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion-flavored 5-Hour energy shots today. 5-Hour Energy is a great way to make sure that you are staying fueled and energized, because nothing's worse than starting to feel dehydrated and exhausted on the golf course when it's 95 degrees out. So my husband has gotten absolutely addicted to these since he became such a big golfer. So make sure that you purchase some today, because it will be so worth it. And they're also really good too. So the Boston Red Sox currently sit in the second American League wildcard spot. And going into this season, there were a lot of thoughts surrounding this Red Sox team saying this team may be very good because of the moves that they made in the offseason to acquire players to bring in to pair with a lot of the younger players. You know, they brought in Garrett Crochet, who himself is still on the younger side, but they brought in veterans Aroldis Chapman, Alex Bregman, and Walker Buehler in particular, guys who have experience with winning, because the Red Sox overall, having a young roster, need the veteran mentorship, and they need the veterans to be out there to help show them how to perform on the big stage. So a lot of people were really excited going into this Red Sox season, and then the season didn't start off how people had hoped. The first couple months were rough, to say the least, for Boston. Then they traded Rafael Devers, and now they have been competing in games. Now, granted, they do need to figure out how to win games on the road against tough teams. That's something that they still are working on. But overall, this is a very good baseball team. And on top of acquiring veterans, they also were excited about the potential growth of a lot of their young players. And one of those young players being Ceddanne Rafaela, who in his rookie season showed off a lot of skills defensively, but really needed work at the plate. And the Red Sox extended him because they really like his defense alone and feel confident enough in just his defensive abilities to where he could be a big contributor long term for this team. But when it came to his offense, they still needed to see a lot more productivity from him at the plate. And that's something that he has been able to show overall over the course of this season, especially for a 2-month period. He was one of the best players in baseball from the beginning of June to July 15th with a 171 WRC plus, which was the 8th best in baseball over that span. Now, what is WRC plus? I went over this on the show the other day, but just in case you weren't tuning in, it stands for weighted runs created plus. So essentially, it's a comprehensive baseball statistic that measures a hitter's offensive production adjusted for park factors and league average. So essentially, it tells you how many runs a player creates compared to the league average, with 100 being the baseline. So a WRC plus above 100 indicates above average offensive performance, while anything below 100 suggests below average performance. So it combines various offensive statistics like hits, walks, home runs, etc., into one single number that reflects a player's overall offensive contribution. So essentially, a WRC plus of 120 means the player is 20% better than league average. So in that span, from beginning of June to July 15th, Rafaela at 171 was essentially 71% better than league average in terms of his offensive contributions, which is huge. That hot streak was in part due to how often he was pulling the ball in the air. In June and July, 30% of his fly balls were pulled. He had a 1.786 WOBA when he pulled the ball in the air, including 9 home runs. So what is WOBA? So that stands for weighted on-base average. So that's a baseball statistic that measures a player's overall offensive value by assigning different weights to different offensive events. So essentially, it's a more comprehensive measure than traditional stats like batting average or on-base percentage, as it considers the run scoring value of each event. It aims to quantify a player's offensive contribution by considering all ways that a player can reach base. So walks, singles, doubles, triples, home runs, etc., hit by pitch, and assigning weights based on their run producing value. So essentially, if you're hitting doubles a lot, that's going to weigh a lot more than if you're walking a lot. And it essentially just values each type of way you can get on base differently. So a WOBA of 320 is generally considered average, while 380 is considered above average, and 400 or higher is considered elite. So he had a 1.786 when he pulled the ball in the air, including those 9 home runs. So 0.320, 0.400, which is considered elite, he was way above that. So the way that he was able to make that work was, again, because he was pulling the ball in the air with fly balls. So for the first 2 months of the season, only about 12% of his fly balls were hit to the pull side. While he had success when he was able to pull it in the air, the lack of frequency limited him to a 647 OPS. So you saw in the first couple months that he was trying to pull the ball a little bit more, but it wasn't always working out for him. So therefore, he wasn't finding as much success. And once he figured out how to pull the ball more, that was when it was home free for him. In August, though, he has been struggling. His WRC plus is at 66 through 12 games. This slump coincides a lot with Marcelo Meyer's injury because it has caused somebody who should be the regular center fielder to play more second base. And Alex Cora knows that center field is his main position, even saying that he should win a Gold Glove in center field. But because of Meyer being hurt, it's caused some movements within the roster. So, for example, Romy Gonzalez is playing some second base, but they're also having Ceddanne play there and Abraham Toro play first base. But they don't want to take away another outfielder from being in the lineup every day also for right now, just because of the fact that Duran and Wilyer Abreu both contribute a lot. And then obviously Roman Anthony, who is somebody who the Red Sox just really treasure as a young talent and is in the Rookie of the Year running right now. So they don't really want to take playing time away from any of them. And if they kept Rafaela in center field every single day, then it would take some playing time away from one of them. And surely, yes, it is frustrating watching him play second base because he's not nearly as good defensively there as he is in center field. But the position change, which could be partially to blame for the decline in offensive production, it really is more than just that. Primarily, pitchers aren't necessarily pitching around Ceddanne anymore. They are giving in less often than they used to, though, because they have shown him a lower percentage of pitches in the heart zone, and he has seen much fewer fastballs than he was earlier in the season. So because he was getting fastballs a lot, he was able to make a lot harder contact. And now that pitchers are moving away from those a little bit, it appears as if he's still hunting for fastballs despite not getting as many of them. So he's getting fooled a lot on the off-speed pitches. On top of that, his average attack direction is 7 degrees to the pull side in August. Out of context, that can be a confusing number, but when you compare that to previous months, you see the issue because in June, his average attack direction was 1 degree to the pull side. And then in July, it rose to 4 degrees. So slowly, his attack direction is increasing more and more to the pull side, essentially meaning he's catching the ball further in front of the plate than in any month this season, indicating an early swing for him. 10 of the 16 balls that he's pulled this month have been on the ground, most of which went for easy ground outs because, again, he's swinging too early a lot of the time and he's hunting for those fastballs. Nobody expects him to keep his offense pace from June and July, but if he wants to get back on track, he's going to have to readjust his approach at the plate in order to make that happen. So essentially the point that I am making with all of this is that, yes, the position change has been frustrating, but there's more to the reasons why Rafaela has been struggling over the last month at the plate than just that. And Marcelo Meyer being injured, when he comes back, we will see some more normalcy again when it comes to the Red Sox lineup. I mean, he's resuming baseball activities. He's playing catch right now. So it seems like there's a good chance he's going to be back this season. So when that does happen, they would stick him back at second base, and then they would put Rafaela back in center field, shift Jarren Duran back over to left with Wilyer Abreu staying in right, and then Roman Anthony probably DHing a lot would be likely what they do. And then they have to fit Yoshida in there to DH as well. So that's something that they would also consider. But things will get back to normal once Marcelo Meyer does come back. But the point is that this is a lot more about the approach that Rafaela is taking than it is about the position switch. And yes, defensively, we know that he's a lot better defensively in center field. So hopefully once Meyer comes back, he can go back to playing center field regularly and we don't have to worry as much about watching his defense at second base. But he does need to change his plate approach because that is the biggest thing causing him trouble right now. So hopefully he is able to do that. But coming up, could Kristian Campbell be called back up soon for the Boston Red Sox? And if so, could he play first base? I know it can be really hard to manage all of your money. Most people can't even name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's exactly where Monarch Money comes in, which is an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or phone. Essentially, it does all the heavy lifting so you can link all of your accounts and be able to clearly see how much money is in each one, what you're spending, and where you can cut down on spending to be able to save money. It was a lifesaver for me because it helped me identify a lot of streaming services that I was using that I didn't exactly need, and it turned out to be a huge difference maker. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONMLB. Monarch Money, I am telling you, is a great way to save money and make sure you're keeping track of all of your finances in one place. So check them out today. As the Boston Red Sox look to make a playoff push, they are looking to guys to step up. One of those guys being Abraham Toro, who had a great start to the season when he got called up to the Red Sox, which was in early May after Tristan Casas unfortunately went down with a season-ending injury. So then they brought up Abraham Toro, who in the first couple months was one of the best offensive contributors on this Red Sox team. Then he started to slip back. And a lot of people, while they expected him to slip back, were hoping they would be wrong and that he would keep it up. But he has been struggling to show consistency at the plate. And if the Red Sox want to be taken seriously as a true contender in the postseason, they are going to have to think about switching him at first base, because you want a guy to play first base who's going to be reliable. And questions regarding first base are surrounding Kristian Campbell. This kid has had his name be floated around in so many conversations, and he is a second baseman. That is his position by trade. That's the position that he called up to play when he first started on this Red Sox team, which was to begin the season. He made the major league roster, and he started off his major league career hot. Through the first 22 games of the season, he was batting .316 with a .918 OPS. He also recorded 3 home runs and 8 RBIs during that stretch. So he was unstoppable at first, and his early showing was so promising that the Red Sox signed him to an 8-year, $60 million contract extension. But it didn't take too long for him to come back down to earth. In his last 45 games in Boston, he was batting just .176 and had a .535 OPS. He also recorded just 27 hits to 51 strikeouts. The potential is definitely there, but the Red Sox opted to send him down to AAA, and he has yet to be called back up. But he has had a great resurgence, and now people are calling for him to get another chance now, as he could have worked out of his slump. Heading into Tuesday night, he was hitting .370 with a .460 on base percentage and .574 slugging, with 3 home runs and a couple doubles over his previous 15 games. And he went 2 for 4 with a double on Tuesday night. He has been playing well at first base too, which is important to note, but his offensive productivity has been through the roof in Worcester recently, which is why people feel like he should come back up to the major league team, because they feel like his offensive productivity would be better than what we're seeing from Abraham Toro right now. The thing is that while he is killing it offensively right now in AAA, it's tough because his defense still needs work. The Red Sox definitely should be happy with his performance in AAA Worcester right now. Over his last 20 games, he's batting .370 with a 1.040 OPS, and he has recorded 4 home runs and 13 RBIs. So that's a bigger sample size in the 15 games I mentioned earlier. So even if you expand it a little bit more, it still shows that he's been hitting well. While his bat has looked improved, his fielding still does need some work, especially since it remains unclear exactly what his primary position will be when he gets the call to return to Boston. He has shown how valuable he can be for the Red Sox, and his return to the majors may be imminent, but I know Alex Cora is still a little bit hesitant about it. He was asked about Kristian Campbell recently, and he said he feels like there are still some things that they're trying to work on with him, and those things more are defensively. He hasn't overly impressed at defense. He has been able to improve a little bit with his glove at first base, but in terms of positioning and timing, there are still some things that could be worked out there. So the Red Sox are definitely trying to wait until he shows more improvement defensively before they call him back up. And then once they feel confident in the defensive ability, then they'll call him back up, likely to contribute to the major league team. But the question is he going to go back to playing second base? And then with Marcelo Meyer, they kind of figure things out based on what the future looks like for the Boston Red Sox, or as first base where he's going to play. If the Red Sox feel ready to call him back up to the majors, the easiest path to do so would be to put him at first base and DFA Abraham Toro, because when Marcelo Meyer comes back from his injury, where is he going to play then? He's been playing second base all year, so they would want to put him there. He was obviously playing third base for a bit of time too when Alex Bregman was hurt, but primarily second base has been where the Red Sox have had him play. So there wouldn't really be a spot for him if they call Kristian Campbell back up to play second. So most likely it would be first base. They would just have to decide for sure, are we ready? And do we feel confident enough in his defensive abilities to go out and play first base for us? So that's a big question as we head further and further into the season and closer to the playoffs. Are the Red Sox confident enough in the abilities of Kristian Campbell to where they'd be ready to say, okay, he can come up and play first base for us and be our first baseman heading into the playoffs over Abraham Toro? Lots of pressure that can come with that, especially coming and playing a different position than you're used to on the biggest stage. The playoffs are such a massive stage, and he's already a rookie. So to put him at a position that, yes, he's been working through in the minors this season, to put him there in the majors when the spotlight is on you in the playoffs is a lot harder said than done. Because if you think about it, there is so much pressure there. So be careful what you wish for there. I think the Red Sox are definitely proceeding with caution, and they have to be overly confident in his defensive abilities in order to call him back up. So it could be a little bit more time before that does happen. But either way, we'll have to see how the Red Sox rearrange the roster upon a lot of these potential moves that could happen. But thank you for tuning in to Locked On Red Sox and making it your first listen today. I always truly appreciate the support. Make sure to next tune in to Locked On MLB Game Night, which goes over every game every night for the entirety of the season until a World Series champion is crowned. You can get local analysis on a national scale from our Locked On experts here. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's a great show. Make sure you tune in next. As always, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I'll catch you on the flip side.